and Substack too. So because I like Substack, it's a pretty good platform.
Yep, yep.
And I think we're live now. Hey
Yeah, it
guys,
says
we're
live.
live. I'm just gonna hit go live on Instagram, and we'll get started. And okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. We're live on Substack, I think, and yeah, we are awesome. Okay,
Awesome.
so hey guys, I usually have my intro, but I'm using Nicole's StreamYard tonight, so I got to upload the intro into here. But I'm excited to have my guest today. She's one of my favorite guests to have.
Oh,
I have with me Melissa Gates Perry, who channels the Airlam. Melissa is a gifted channel and spiritual messenger who has been working with her spirit guide Airlam since 1993. Together, they bring forward wisdom in higher realms to help humanity through times of transformation and awakening. Melissa is also the co-author of Being Humans, a book that explores her direct work with Aralamb, offering messages of empowerment, compassion, and multidimensional awareness. Through her sessions, Melissa provides channeled guidance, live readings, and transmissions meant to expand consciousness and align listeners with their soul path. Her work is deeply rooted in love, clarity, and truth, bringing forward practical insights as well as mystical teachings. And her website is www.melissagatesperry.com. And I'd like to give her a big warm welcome back to the show. Melissa,
thanks.
thanks so much for coming back on. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Like you, I've been really busy. I'm talking to a lot of people and doing a lot of stuff. But I love to come on your show because I feel like you and I we've sort of had so much time together that it makes it really comfortable and awesome. Plus, all of you, the people that listen to you and that follow you, are super kind of like high level, knowledgeable, and I love that too. Because they ask great questions of Airlam, which is really amazing. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah,
really.
I agree. I've been blessed with a good audience. I'm not real religious, but I say blessed in the way that, like, I mean, like, I just really feel I guess gifted, or I don't know. I just maybe it's what I fostered by doing this show. I kind of,
Yeah.
gathered like an audience of like minds, and they're really good people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they're
The
all
other
like
thing
really
I love about your show and the people that follow you, it's not just, you're not sort of sometimes I say to people, I'm a kind of a one-trick pony. I just do the one thing. I mean, there's a lot in it, but I'm still just doing the one sort of thing. But I love your show because you really have people on sort of across the board and Airlam wants to talk about this a little bit. Airlam's here, obviously. Right now, Rob, the planet, what in the world, right? I mean, there's so much information in real time coming out about everything and anything you can think of. And I say to people in sessions, and Airlam does too, it's such an amazing time to be on the planet. It's also such a wild time to be on the planet because all of the things, I'm older than you, but all of the things that we all sort of grew up knowing to be stable, whatever those things that we all believed were the truth about everything from our history to off-world species to governments, whatever it is, everything's being turned over. All this information is coming up. And so it's just this wild time to be on the planet as far as that goes. And it's just, yeah, I mean, it's such an honor in a way. And when you say you're blessed with your followers, I mean, you don't have to be religious to know that you are, because you have this really phenomenal sort of group of people that follow you, and you also have so many awesome people on this show. I'm not even saying me, I'm saying as a listener, as a watcher myself, you just have such amazing people, especially anybody that's doing what you're doing. And I know I don't do what you do, meaning I'm not constantly sort of bringing information to people in that way. And it is not, the road that you're walking, it's so incredibly needed, but it's not an easy one, right? It's not an easy one. Like, you're committed to the kind of path of doing this, and it's amazing. And I'm proud of you. I'm really proud of you because, in the last, since we've got to know each other in the last few years, I mean, you are really, you're doing it, you're sticking to it, and you're growing, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, there's definitely been roadblocks along the way. You know what I mean? Like between demonetizations and, getting canceled and stuff like that. But then, you just find a way to climb back. But I really appreciate that coming from you, because I really respect you for your work. And like, I think you're really awesome, and it's
the feeling's mutual. The feeling is mutual. The feeling is mutual. Okay, so let's do this real quick because Airlam's hand is up. You know how Airlam, he's standing here next to me with his hand up when he wants to speak. So that being said, Airlam speaking. Rob, thank you for having us here this evening. It's always wonderful to talk to you. One of the things that I want to say to everyone listening, and you included, is this. And Melissa touched upon it just a little bit, not formally, but just a little bit ago. That is that there is so much information coming at humanity right now. And you'll have guests on that will talk about some of that information is specifically being released in order to confuse the sort of playing field. You have everything from there being bodies that are moving into your solar system, meaning asteroids and manned bodies and all of this movement in your solar system and out there in the sky. But also you have an awful lot of governments on the planet who are specifically sort of seeding unrest. So what I would say to everyone listening is that regardless of where you stand, meaning regardless of what your leanings are, what your religious beliefs are, what your politics are, you have to try to stay very centered and very central and try to be a part of humanity versus becoming tribal, because that divide and separate is sort of what the powers that be are looking to do to all of humanity right now. And then summarily, with the spiritual piece of this, every one of you are soul beings. And because of that, you are always going to be filtering it sort of through your spiritual radar, if you will. So if you can quiet yourself, regardless of what's still Airlam speaking, regardless of what is going on in your world, regardless of what's going on in your relationships or your employment or finances for you or whatever that is, regardless of what you're seeing, continue to think about your situation with yourself and others through that quieter spiritual place, that spiritual voice, because your soul's voice is always going to help you have the discernment spiritually to sort of weed out what you're looking at. I use the word weed out because in so many situations that you hear about, that you see happening, the violence, the space, as I said, what's going on in your space around your planet, everything needs to be looked at with a very heavy dose of this discernment through your own soul, because then you'll be able to sort of weed out what you can sort of feel and know to be not true and what you know to be true. So there's so much more discernment happening for souls now. This has to do with the Ascension, still Airlam speaking. Because the Ascension right now, the last time that Melissa and I were here, Rob, we were talking about the Ascension. But now that September for you all is just about over, that the energy of the Ascension and the steepness of the descent that's happening, there's a descent of energy. Descent seems as though it would be the opposite of what's going on, that you're raising up. But in all actuality, the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional energies are descending toward Earth. So it's as if Earth being pulled, but those energies are descending toward Earth. And as Earth is ascending up into that energy, it becomes harder and harder to hold on to all of the beliefs and the energy that truly does not sort of resonate with your body and your soul, your psyche and your emotional body anymore. So people are feeling this. But it's nothing to panic about because it has to happen. But I'm going to say this to you now. Between 2 days from now, Earth time, so October 1st, say, to the end of March coming in this next calendar year for you, the ascent, the speed at which things change and the speed at which all of that darker energy is coming off the planet, it's going to get faster and faster and faster and faster. Still Airlam speaking. And I know that many of your listeners, and Melissa often will say too, the feeling right now is that things are happening on the planet. It used to be once a month you'd hear something that's happening. Now there are weather changes, there are geological changes, there are political changes, there are things happening, there are wars happening, people are moving. It's happening now on a daily basis. So the reason I tell you this, still Airlam speaking, don't take it in as your own negative energy. All of your listeners right now need to really think about the idea that you're witnessing something historic on your planet. And you're not meant to delve deeply into it from an emotional standpoint. You want to learn everything you can that is truth, but from that energetic level, you've got to try to stay very stable, because what feels furiously fast as far as the changes are today, that is going to continue to feel faster and faster and faster and faster. And I want everyone listening, still Airlam speaking, to understand that you're living through a time on planet Earth that has to happen. It must happen. The creator of this universe, I call the creator God, but you can use whatever word you like, but the creator of this universe is now having Earth in this ascension in such a way that there's no way to go back now. It's like Melissa will say to people, you can't unsee or unhear certain things, right? Once you start to see the truth, you can't unhear or unsee it. So Earth is now traversing at an incredibly high rate of speed into this ascension. It doesn't mean that it's a negative, but it simply means that your ability to stay balanced and centered is going to become more and more and more important for you all. So remember that. Okay, me speaking. So isn't that wild? So it's interesting because, and this is me now speaking, Rob, but Aralamb has been talking to people because, and do you feel like that? Like so many people, and I know I do, it's like on the news, on social media, like there's so much going on. And it used to feel like once a week or once every other week, there'd be some new big event that was happening, right? But now it seems like it's a daily thing. And it's really, really tough to not get really wound up about it. But we all have to kind of hang cool. Like you got to try to hang as cool as you can through it, because getting really ramped up about it doesn't help. Like it doesn't help you. It doesn't help you. But do you notice that, Rob? Do you notice that feeling of it speeding up?
Absolutely. Seems like everything's coming more to the forefront very fast. Like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, just incredibly fast. And it's interesting too, because Airlam will say to use your discernment, because there's so much information coming up. I mean, people are asking about, and I keep asking Airlam about the, well, I use quotes here, but like, are there off-world species? There are now 2 or 3 different asteroids that are supposedly coming into the solar system, and all that different stuff people are talking about. And I'll ask him, what is this about? And he'll say to me, and he says to other people, it's sort of a combination of things, meaning that some of it is natural, some of it is not, from what Airlam is saying. In other words, some of it is actually not natural. Some of it is sort of manned scouting kind of off-world species checking things out to see where we're at in this ascension, which is wild, right? That's wild.
Wow. Yeah. It's I don't think have we ever been a time like this on the planet before, would you say?
Airlam's hand is up. Airlam speaking. Rob, absolutely not. This is what is literally the end of what we refer to here in creation as the seventh age of man on planet Earth. So you earthlings, you souls that are on the earth now, are living in the final 20 years of the 7th age of man. There have been 7 ages, and at the end of each age, the whole of the planet has been brought back, and usually it's by something decimating, meaning something geological, that happens with the earth, something that's off-world, something that is specifically brought in to stop it. The dinosaur era was one of those times. So, but what happens is mankind at that time, usually at the end of those ages of man, the whole thing is brought down again to about 10,000 souls on planet Earth. This is the first age by where humanity en masse, the majority of humanity, still Airlam speaking, is going to go ahead and make it to the very beginning of the 8th age of man on planet Earth. Now, you are in the final 20 Earth years of that time. It's very likely that most of your listeners, that Melissa, are going to live to see the time prior to the ascension beginning, this time that's during the ascension where you are now, and then you'll likely see those few years right after the ascension is finalized. And that's really where everything changes on planet Earth, because suddenly the whole of Earth and everyone's understanding of the universe will be completely transformed, because suddenly Earth will not be this planet by itself in the universe. right? Everything changes at that point. Science, medicine, governments, all of it, financial, everything will be shifting to a universal view versus a global view. Do you see?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's
You
amazing.
and everyone listening chose to be on the planet during this incredibly difficult time. And it's an incredibly difficult time because everything that humanity has known is being turned over. It's being turned over. Everything that is untrue is being brought up. And so everything that made your life feel completely stable is being questioned, right? But it has to be. It has to happen. Humanity's going to go through it. There's no reason to fear it. It's just that be prepared that the changes and the sort of upheaval in some ways, it'll happen. And it may happen faster and faster and faster as you move into the second third of the ascension, which is where you're all moving to in the next 2 years, Earth time. So you're just about completed with the first third of the ascension in this historical timeline on Earth. Me speaking. So yeah, isn't that wild? We're like close to being halfway through the ascension. Isn't that wild? I mean, that's wild when you think about it. Because I think 20 years ago, and you're younger than me, but still 20 years ago when people first started talking about maybe there's this ascension happening, it seemed like something that was this 100 or 200 year far away thing, right?
Yeah.
And then as it started happening, and a lot of people who have spiritual connections, a lot of channels, a lot of people who are in communication with off-world species are saying the same thing. Oh, wow, this is not like a 300-year process. This is like, we're in the midst of it right now. And when Airlam says to you, Rob, you will remember being a young boy in the time before the ascension started, right? And then you'll remember being during this ascension, and then you're also going to be on the planet once it's sort of finished and things start to really change, right? So you're going to be one of those souls that when you're an old man and you cross back over, you'll literally show up and go, whew, I just lived through the ascension on Earth, right? Which was a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
You know?
It's fascinating to me though. It really is. Like, you know, it really is like a fascinating time to be alive, it seems like, you know?
Well, it is. And the other part of it is that you think about, he's talking about those ages of man. And when he talks about the ages of man, he's talking about close to 1 million years back, right? Because we've had, and I know you've had people on, we've had so many different kind of societies over thousands of years rise up and then destroyed, right? Rise up and then destroyed. I mean, Earth has had that 7 times. And there's this feeling from people a little bit like, we're going to do that again. You know, there's going to be something nuclear. There's going to be this apocalypse thing. But we're not meant to do that this time. We're meant to, you know, we're meant to make that sort of ascent and get through it this time where most of us will survive it. You know, I mean, life will go on and people have things happen, but most of us are meant to survive it. And we'll be the first human souls to see that and remember it, right? Unless you were living, you know, 4 ages back when you were, you know, in sort of on the Indian continent and the Vimanas were flying around, but that was many ages of man back, right? And that ended badly. I mean, it's like it always ends badly. But we're the first group that got to come in and chose to come in, and we're like, you know, all we have to do is just navigate this in some way that we're not maniacs. That's me talking. You know what I mean? Like we can all just not be complete. I mean, I'm a little bit of a maniac and you are, I'm sure too. But like generally, if we can all not be incredibly like maniacs, where we can all help each other to get clarity and help each other with new information. And, you know, I mean, think about the people that are, I read an article, I'm always following science. I read an article, and somebody that's listening may have more details about this, but I read an article, and I think it was in Lithuania, maybe Yugoslavia, I'm not sure, one of those countries. They just found the head and upper torso of an actual, like a fossilized skeleton, the head and upper torso of what they're saying is an actual dragon, like the mythological dragon, right?
Whoa,
because
that's
you know,
insane.
And that was from just one of the ancient ages of man. And you know that Airlam will say to people, 80% of what we think of as mythology it came from somewhere that it was real, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so many things that are coming up. The giants, right? The giant races. There are scientists now that say absolutely, we have all kinds of bones. We know that there were giants, and it was written that they were Nephilim, right? They were crossbred in some age of man. So it's so crazy when you think about the amount of history and just factual things that we're finding out, right? It's wild. I mean, and then you wonder why people are feeling a little bit like maniacs, because you just want to get up in the morning and have a coffee and have it be really normal, but it just doesn't feel normal anymore. Like there's no normal, and it's wild. So that part of it is just, it's kind of exciting in a way. It's like, but it also can be frightening, because if you're a person who, it's like, this is all too much, right? And that's where we just got to hang together. Like we got to hang together. And so that's really also one of the big messages always, is that, we got to try to sort of, we're all going to move through this together. So we might as well try not to do it kicking and screaming or fighting or wrestling.
Yeah. I see a lot of new podcasts pop up all the time, and I try to be supportive of everybody's, because I realize everybody wants to share something right now. And,
Yes.
I feel like we kind of need that, it's needed for everybody to have their own little spin on what they think is going on. You know what I mean? Or what they need to add, want to add to, like, because some people get real competitive about that. I said, well, why not have all the shows? You know what I mean?
Right.
Everybody deserves a chance,
See, and I think so too. And Airlam's hand is up. Airlam speaking. Rob, when you talk about all of the podcasts or people getting on social media, being on the internet, what also is happening is that there is this, I'm going to call it an energetic net that has been sort of mobilized on Earth. And it's almost like an energetic net or a wave that is slowly working its way through the human population of souls on the planet, regardless of where you are or where you live. And what's happening is that energetic wave is building in such a way that you're having more and more souls bring whatever piece of the sort of puzzle that they have, that they came to the planet with, to add into this picture toward the end of this ascension. So what's happening is you're getting, because of social media, you're getting millions and millions more pieces of a puzzle that is coming together. And it's one of the reasons why you and what you're doing, you have such a wide variety of souls with a wide variety of information. But the idea here is that there's going to be this point energetically where enough souls will have enough pieces of the puzzle that it's all going to sort of click together at once. And that brings the momentum forward for the change as well. Because free will is the highest law. And what that truly means is that even with the ascension, nothing can be forced on a soul, meaning information, spiritual growth, decision-making process in your life, all of those things have to be taken up freely by the soul. Free will not allow anyone's guide, the creator of the universe even. Free will is the highest law. So when you have multiple souls, millions of them, all getting information and bringing it all together, this is also where new technologies are happening, right? New technological spiritual information is coming into many different souls from creation at this point, because it's all needed. So it becomes this snowball. And that's why it's wonderful that you support people, because you never know what piece of information you're going to hear, which is going to be the last piece of information that you need to then do something in your life that you came in specifically to do spiritually. And this is why it's so powerful.
I love that.
What I love about that, this is me talking, but what I love about that is the idea that there's this, it's almost like a building of momentum where if enough people eventually know the words to a song, everybody will know the song. Does that make sense?
It does.
That energetically, it's like that. And we are at a fever pitch right now. And that's, I think, why so many people, and you know what's interesting too, and you might have questions. I don't know. I feel like Airlam and I are doing a lot of talking here, but the other thing that's really interesting for me in sessions is that people come through, and almost always Airlam will talk about their sort of spiritual specialty and then all the gifts that they may have underneath that and how it shows up in their life. But what's awesome is people tend to walk away with that information. And then a month or two later, because I'll say to people, let me know how you're doing, because it's a lot of information. A month or two later, I'll have people coming back in an email and saying, oh man, I started to look at this or look at that or study this or study that. And all of a sudden, everything's kind of rolling forward for me. So it's like that. It's that sort of everything moving forward, that kind of always playing it forward, which is awesome. Energetically, that's just where we are.
So will most of the population feel the shift, or do you think there will be like a mass awakening where everybody will start to like, or will it just be a certain group of people?
So Airlam's hand is up. Airlam speaking. So the answer to that is sort of in three phases. Right now on the planet, there are a certain percentage of people that already are feeling the shift. They're talking about it. They're trying to determine what's happening. They're spiritually relatively adept, or at least they understand they have a spiritual body to them. That's the first group of people. The second group of people are about to start to come into, I'll say, the wave. And those are the people who have lived their lives a certain way and always believed a certain thing. But suddenly the evidence for new information for them is going to be overwhelming. So it's as if someone says, come in the pool, the water is warm, but until you put your feet in, you can't sort of understand that. So the information is literally in the next 6 to 8 Earth months going to be sort of moving into that next group of people. Now, they're the ones that you would talk about in ways where they might be a brand new listener to your podcast about anything, and then you get an email or they subscribe and suddenly they're very interested and they're saying, I always wondered about this, or I always felt this way, but I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know what name to put on that. I believe in a creator. I believe that there are off-world species. So that's the second wave of sort of people that are going to be coming through. Once that second wave of people begin to feel the ascension, the final group, still Airlam speaking, the final group are sort of just going to be pulled up and along with the others. But there isn't going to be a group of people who are strictly what you would call left behind. Because at some point, there's going to be this place where, in this time on the planet, still Airlam speaking, where the proof, if you will be visually in front of you. Now, I realize that people talk about the Project Bluebeam, other government projects, so that, would you be able to tell one from the other, all of that kind of thing, because those are real issues on the planet right now. But with your discernment and with the knowledge that people are gaining, that souls are getting, you're going to be able to see the truth. Here's another example. Still Airlam speaking. Wait, I want to say this. I want to interrupt Airlam because I say to Airlam sometimes, don't use certain words because you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Sometimes people can get in trouble online and I don't know if you would hear it all, but I'll say to him, don't use certain words because YouTube will pick those words up and, whatever. So anyway, I just want to say that to you. So I'm kind of saying it to Airlam too. So he just said to me, he just said, I'll be careful. Okay, so Airlam speaking. So when we're talking about discernment, many of the souls who were the first in that first wave of sort of waking up, if you will, or beginning the ascension or beginning to see the truth in things, weekly, if not at least monthly, there are now situations being set up, if you will, on the planet. And these situations, they are real in that human beings are in those situations, often in numbers. Those human beings very well may be getting harmed in those situations. And yet still, a government can be behind them, meaning they are set up in order that souls see these situations and are moved one way or another in their thoughts and their emotions, the fear. I think you might call them red flag situations, right? Yeah. Where even though they seem completely individual, they aren't individual. And there's a truth in that. There's a truth in that. Still Airlam speaking. Now, that doesn't mean that souls and human beings aren't being harmed in these situations. But what it does mean is what is behind these situations. It's very often today some of the deepest parts of governments all over the planet that are really, really, really struggling now for that control. They're trying to grasp back control that the ascension is taking away from them. And no matter how hard they try to contain that control and maintain it, still Airlam speaking, The ascension is going to be, I'm going to use the word victorious either way. There's nothing that they're going to be able to do to stop it, because every single second on earth right now, another soul is waking up to the truth about who they are and that they're connected to the universe in the way that they are creation. The more souls that wake up to creation and the true power that souls have, the more powerful humans get en masse, do you see? So the control grids are losing control. So those kinds of things. But that first group of souls, you're in that group, Melissa is in that group, most of your listeners are in this group. And it's the group that will look at situations in the world and start to see the pieces behind the initial scene of what's going on, right? So rather than just looking at the situation and being drawn into that first piece of it, you have the ability to start to look at what's behind it, look at the finances behind it, look at the people behind it, the governments behind it, who's getting something out of this. Now, 20 years ago, Earth time, no one was thinking that way. No one. There were no souls on Earth thinking that way. But now there are. And the Ascension is bringing that in. It's bringing that truth. It's bringing that ability to see the divine movement in things, right? To see when something isn't right and you know that it's not right. I will say this to you as well, and this is interesting. Melissa will often say that when she's looking at AI people, meaning you're looking at a program that it's got people in it, maybe it's an AI band or it's an AI actors, she'll say it makes her feel uncomfortable in her chest, but she can't understand quite why. And the reason that it makes people feel uncomfortable, souls feel uncomfortable, is because everything that is AI is not souled. It does not have a soul. Even if and when AI becomes fully sentient, self-sentient, it'll still be an unsouled being. And the human soul that you have is going to always recognize that. Your discernment is going to recognize that lack of connection to creation.
Wow.
It's that very discernment that lets you look at a situation and calmly start to feel into it and understand what you're truly looking at. And that is happening more and more and more. And it's incredibly powerful.
That is, I would say so. That's fascinating, Aralamb. This is really well. I would say, should we get into the readings, or is there anything else you wanted to cover before we go into that?
I mean, I'm just letting Airlam talk about anything that you say or anything he wanted to say. But I do want to say to everybody listening that honestly, just try to take everything a little bit like you're watching what's going on before you're just thinking this. In other words, what you're seeing is not always what's transpiring. It's not always what's happening. And we really are, it's like the powers that be right now, they're losing control of all the souls on the earth. So they're really trying to manipulate us all the time, right? They're trying to manipulate us with fear of each other, fear of what's going to happen tomorrow, fear of everything. And so try to maintain a piece of you that stays kind of discerning and looking at things without that fear, right? And it doesn't mean that we don't all feel terrible for anybody who's having a hard time or anybody that's in any situation, and you always want to love and help people, but also to start to understand how manipulated we are, because man, they're really ramping it up right now. I say the big they. Do you ever listen to Catherine Austin Fitz?
Yeah, I know who she is. Yeah,
about Mr. World. You know, like when she's in an interview, people ask her, well, because she was in the government for a while, but she'll talk about Mr. World, meaning those 20 people or entities or whoever that's at the very top of the pyramid. She calls them Mr. World. What are they trying to do? What do they need? What do they want us to think? What do they want us to believe? What do they want us to buy? What do they want us to do, right? So you always have to think about how these situations could be. What is Mr. World trying to get me to think or buy or do or believe? Because right now souls are waking up and becoming incredibly independent. And so they don't like that. I say that the conspiracy theory, they don't like it, right?
Yeah, they don't. You're right. They don't like it. It's like it's a bit. I mean, because a certain amount of people have to control the masses. A certain small amount of people, and if all the people rised up, or maybe just even a small amount, that would.
That's where that's where Airlam said you had the first group, then you're going to have this second group. But what's happening is the energy of the ascension is building upon itself. And so we're almost to the point where the tipping point is going to happen, so that I was just use an old term, but like come hell or high water, we're going to be ascending, and that control grid is just going to continue to break down. It just is, because there's not going to be any other way to have it.
Wow. Yeah. I know, by the way, I know Emily Howard's in the audience. She loves your book. She's just chanting Airlam, Airlam, Airlam at the beginning. So,
oh, that's funny. I love when people have read the book, and I don't press the book. Like I'm not ever out there trying to sell it. But I do love when people read it and get something out of it, because it's really one of those books that's it's really about someone reading it and then transforming themselves with that information. And also, I think the book lets people feel that they're not alone, because my story up until a certain point in my life was kind of a terrible shit show. I hate to swear, but it was. My childhood and all up through was a bit of a shit show. So it's nice for people to know that, you know, there's no perfect life. Nobody, even people that you look at that you think, oh, they have everything, it's perfect. You know what? There's no perfect life. There just isn't. And even, especially on Earth right now, because there's no vacation lives happening. Airlam says that all the time. You know, 100 years ago on Earth, you could come here and have with your core group of souls and sort of have a vacation life, meaning you could come in and just have this long sort of, you know, big family, and we'll have some regular troubles, but nothing major, big, long vacation life. No soul that's come to Earth in the last 50 years, there's no vacation lives being had, because the work right now is so important. So everybody's kind of duking it out through their, you know, being here. And also, there aren't any young souls on the planet either. So if any of your people are listening right now, and I know there's at least a couple that feel like, I don't know if I've got my spirituality together. I don't know, you know, I don't know what my gifts are, whatever. There aren't any young souls. So everyone listening, including you, Rob, everybody on the Earth right now is a very long-lived soul, because creation is only letting in really long-lived souls to the Earth, period. Because it's such an important time. Like, you got to have the players. You got to have the people who can survive it show up, right, and do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that. That's So it's a lot of us are here because we've already done it, and we're here to correct what we've done in the past.
And also souls that are known, souls that are known to be able to go into challenging lifetimes, overcome it all in the lifetime, and survive, and sort of keep things moving forward. And that's so important at this time on the planet. You know, that's why I always say to people, no matter where you are, no matter what's going on with you, you have to think to yourself, I am here for a reason, and I need to just change my attention a little bit here and start to move forward in some positive way, even if it's small stuff, for myself first. Because you came in as a big, powerful soul. No matter who you are, who's listening, you would have come in as a I'm going to swear again, Aralamb. He hates when I swear. But every soul, you know, you would have come in as a kick-ass soul, like a soul who like takes names and kicks some ass and stays in it, right? That's who you would have come in as. So everybody needs to kind of remember that about themselves, because a lot of times people don't, and it's important to remember that.
Yeah. Wow. This has been fascinating so far. Everybody's loving it in the audience. I'm going to pull up the chat on my phone, so I have that open too. And yeah, if you guys want a reading, just put your name in the chat, and we'll get to you. And let me see. And if you have any questions for Airlam too, it's not just readings, guys. You can ask Airlam any question you want to. You know, you can.
And I don't mind doing the readings, but sometimes the questions are better, especially in like a big group like this. Because a lot of times in a reading, it tends to be really personal information, and Airlam will sort of couch it all in, you know, he tends to not want to, you know, throw in like really personal information when there's lots of people listening. I mean, it's fine if we can do it that way, but whatever, anything, I'm wide open.
Yeah. Okay. So, and if you want, again, you guys can donate. I'll put links in the chat. But I'm just going to go through the chat, and I'll go to whoever is first. You know what I mean? So whoever wants to
say this, I'm going to say this for you, Rob. If you can donate $1, or if you can donate 10, donate to Rob, because he's freaking awesome. He's doing the big work. He's doing the big work here.
Thanks. That means a lot. That really does. Yeah. Brenda in the chat asked, "Who's Aralamb?" I said she obviously hasn't seen one of our shows yet, but you'll get it. Like
What was your name,
Aralamb.
Brenda?
Do you want to explain it to the
Yeah,
people who
I'm
might
gonna
not
let
know?
Airlam explain it. So is her name Brenda? Is that what you said, Brenda?
Yeah.
Airlam speaking. Airlam speaking. Brenda, it's wonderful to talk to you tonight. I am Melissa's contracted lifetime guide for this lifetime. Melissa has a spiritual specialty of all spiritual communications during times of universal evolution. Melissa and I are in a core group together. So I am part of her core soul group, but I am stayed here in the 89th level of creation. Where I'm standing is where every soul incarnates into a lifetime, whether it's on Earth or some other planet. Not through Melissa's opening per se, not through her private opening here where I'm standing, but through the 89th level. Every soul in the universe, when you drop your body and you're going to move back over, you'll come through the 89th level through your connection to creation where I'm standing. Your Brenda contracted lifetime guide will meet you at that time along with family members or core members who have already moved over. Now, my job literally in this lifetime was to be present for Melissa. You will have a contracted lifetime guide. Every soul does, regardless of whether you're on Earth or some other planet. Because of the free will that every soul has, I came into Melissa's life because she specifically asked me. She had one of the challenges in her life was that it was a very challenging and kind of terrifying time for her. I will let her speak to that if she should want to. Still Airlam speaking. But she asked specifically to have some help, to have some protection, to have some kind of counseling, if you will. So because she asked directly, I was able then to step in and be in connection with her. The first year and a half, I was just a calm, loving, safe feeling for her. I was not a voice that she could hear. I certainly was not channeling through her at that time, because although many human souls would like to have the channel happening the way that it's happening for Melissa now, if you literally woke up tomorrow, Rob or Brenda, and had someone speaking to you or through you in this way, you would be incredibly uncomfortable with that. You wouldn't know what to do with that if it just spontaneously happened to you, right? But over a year and a half time, Melissa got more and more comfortable with my presence, and then one day said to me, "Thank you for being here with me." She just said it to the air in her kitchen. "Thank you for being here. You must have a name." And so all I said to her was Aralamb. She wrote it on a napkin. She said, "Aralamb, that's your name." And I said, "Yes," that was all. She said, "Thank you." And she went about her business like a regular day, still Airlam speaking. Over the next year and a half, little by little, she had my name so she could start to speak to me. She might ask me a yes or no question. But the point of this is that she became very comfortable with my presence. This doesn't mean I was constantly with her, constantly staring at her, constantly in her presence. But if she wanted me to be, if she turned her attention to her connection to the universe and she wanted to be in connection with me, then absolutely I'm there, because that's my job as her contracted lifetime guide. Now, as a guide to her, I cannot do anything to her or for her that she has not asked for. I oversee her timeline. I look at her contracts that she has with her core group. I look at all of the things that she would like to do in this lifetime. That is the difficult parts and the wonderful parts, the relationships. I cannot, again, tell her anything to change her from the decision process. She would often joke with me and say, "You can tell me all this information. Why can you not give me the lottery numbers?" Because unless she's meant or wants to have that experience in this lifetime, I can't give her lottery numbers unless that's something that she wants to have in her lifetime. So that is who I am. Now, I am a souled being. I have had many, many hundreds of incarnations. I have not incarnated to any planet in about 1,500 Earth years time. The last incarnation that I had on Earth, Melissa was in that lifetime with me. And she was a very new member of my core soul group at that time. And so since then, she and I have not had a lifetime together, but I have been her core guide for multiple lifetimes. She doesn't remember those lifetimes particularly, but she does remember that one that I was in a long time ago. So that being said, that's who I am. This is where I reside. I have a lot of other work that I do here when I'm not working directly with Melissa. She is in communications. I am also in communications. Usually, Brenda, to answer a question for you as well, your guide, your contracted lifetime guide for this lifetime will have a spiritual specialty. You will also have a spiritual specialty. And it's very often that your guide and you will share the same specialty, as if you were both doctors or you were both lawyers. It makes sense because your guide would be a guide that understood your spiritual gifts because they also would share some of those. And so that is who I am. So that was a really, holy smoke. Airlam, this is me speaking. Airlam just gave her a massive description of who he is, how he is, and what he does. I didn't think he was going to give all of that detail about all of that. That's funny.
I loved it. I think it's awesome. It really is.
Your fault.
Yeah. Well, here, I'll get to the readings, and I'll start from the absolute beginning because we didn't get any donations yet, but that's fine. The first one is from my good friend Michelle, and she's going through some issues right now. To be honest, like I don't want to share her personal issues, but like I'll just leave it at that. And she really could use a reading. I know that.
Okay.
So
Airlam's hand is up. Airlam speaking. Michelle, welcome. I know that you are a soul who you need to begin, and I want to be very respectful. So I'm going to say this to you. And I believe that I may have said this to you before. I believe that I did, but I'm going to say this to you with even more strength now, if I didn't. And that is this. You know exactly what you need to do. You also know that making the decision that you know that you really need to make is going to force you to give up some comforts. But the comforts that you get from your situation are not worth any longer the pain of staying. Still Airlam speaking. I also want you to understand this. The situation that you're in, that you know that you need to move out of, it is not the final situation for you. You have in your timeline, and again, I want to be respectful. You have in your timeline something much, much, much better. I'm going to say that to you in that way. So I want you to understand that if you come to the place where you make the difficult decisions, ultimately it's going to be the best thing for you. But I can't tell you that you have to do it, but I believe that you know deep down that you will and that you should. And I'm saying,
she said I could share, and I think you already picked up on this. She said I could share. She said it's an issue with her boyfriend that she's having. Yeah. It seems like you already picked up on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, this is me speaking. Oh yeah. So okay. So Airlam's hand is up. So since you said that part of it, I didn't want to say that part of it. The things that are hurting you are not going to change. And this particular soul is on a particular path and is going to be on that path of decision making, particularly where you're concerned. It's going to go for quite a long time. If you spend too much of your path staying there, you could miss very positive other relationships. And Airlam still speaking. I understand that free will is the highest law, and you can stay in this difficult connection for as long as you want to. You can stay there and be in pain. But let me say this to you with all due respect, still Airlam speaking. The behaviors that are painful for you, that you hope and pray will change with that soul, are likely not going to change. And it may be that after you, the next soul who comes into connection with that partner is going to deal with the exact same issues that you're dealing with now. So what I would say to you is this: it may be that you'll want to see your way through the pain of making the decision to not be there, because you have in your timeline a phenomenal soul who will truly, truly be the soul that is going to take care of you and be in that reciprocal kind of loving situation. Okay, me speaking. I hope that helps. But wow, there's like a lot of around that. And this is me talking. I hope that what Airlam said helps you, because all he really was doing, I think, Michelle, is sort of confirming what you already know, which is hard, because sometimes you want to stay in it because you think, and I mean, hey, you know what? You have free will. You can sometimes when I'm like I'm just as an example, sometimes when I'm having a hard time with something, I'll be struggling, and I know what I need to do, but it's painful and I don't want to do it. And Airlam will just come in and he'll say to me, how long do you want to stay in this feeling? How long do you want to kind of wrestle with this? And then he'll remind me that I can decide not to wrestle with it for as long, in other words, you have the power, Michelle. You absolutely have the power. And what Airlam is saying here, and I know that it may seem like it doesn't even matter right now necessarily, but you have in your timeline, you're not going to grow old alone. Let's put it that way, right? There's better for you in your timeline. I hope that helps a little.
I hope that helps you too, Michelle. I know Michelle was really excited about the reading. She said she loves you and she thanks you, and she says I understand. She says she feels so hurt and manipulated. She says thank you so much. And
I hate, my heart hurts for her though, because Airlam literally is saying to her, it isn't going to change. That look at that face I just made. Ugh, I hate that. I hate that for you. Sometimes I wish Airlam would say something different than what he says to people, because if it's, but Airlam is, he tends to be straight to it. So I know that it's hurting your heart, but it sounds as though it's going to continue with you or the person that comes after you. But you have good things in your future. You could be doing something really lovely soon, even. So
yeah.
I'm sorry, Michelle. I feel like I should say, I'm sorry, Michelle.
You could possibly miss out on an opportunity if she stays in the situation she's in.
Yes,
maybe someone better.
Right. You don't want it to be 3 years from now and it's exactly the same and you're still really hurting. And now you've not made decisions about what's best for you. Like that's what you need to do maybe at this point. But Airlam started by saying she already knows this and knows what she needs to do.
Yeah. That's amazing. And I hope she says that's my face right now. She says, tell her, Rob, I love this. Thank you. She says,
well, good, honey, good. I'm glad. I wish it was somewhere I could just give you a hug. I hate that. I hate it. We've all been there, but I hate it.
I want to do the next person first. I'm kind of jump. This is kind of like my relationship interest. So I want to give. She's well, whatever you can pick up from her. This is Coley.
Okay.
And yeah.
This is your relationship interest. Is that what you just said?
Yeah. This is the girl I went to Iowa to see. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. And her name is her name Coley? Cole?
Her name's Nicole.
Nicole. Okay, Nicole. All right. Airlam speaking. Nicole, wonderful to meet you. Rob is a wonderful human being. I will say that to you. That's all I'll say about that piece of this. However, you and Rob, interestingly, have a lot in common, and as far as your spiritual kind of specialties. Rob, not unlike Melissa, is in spiritual communications, kind of all different kinds. He's in the communications. Obviously, that's what he's doing. Still Airlam speaking. So you also have an interesting kind of communications specialty. And for you, it's not just about the verbal sort of communications of spiritual information, but it's also about sort of the whole creative piece of it, meaning, still Airlam speaking, meaning that you have the ability also to create sort of new ways to communicate spiritual meaning. And it may even be with you through traditional art. But if it's not through that, then it's going to be through all things sort of media involved. Now, the other thing I'll say to you is this, and I want to be respectful. You are in a place where you're coming out of a long period of sort of not wanting to trust. And when I say not wanting to trust, I don't mean that you don't trust generally people. I mean, you are now coming to a place that maybe started a year to a year and a half ago, Earth time, still Airlam speaking, where you had sort of been hurt in relationships. You had sort of tried to have different kinds of relationships. They all ended up where you felt as though you had put in a lot of time and energy and were hurt. You're coming out of that now. So maybe this does overlap in some ways with Rob here, still Airlam speaking. But the point is that you're now coming to a place that you're coming to a place to be completely spiritually open to have the experience of the rest of your life. You do not need to bring anything from your childhood forward any further. You don't have to bring anything from past hurts forward with you any further. The one thing I would suggest for you, and it may be that you already do this, I would absolutely think to yourself about your connection to creation, and then literally do an awful lot of cleansing sort of your chakras. Not because there's something wrong with you, but that you have this phenomenal amount of energy, and not unlike Melissa in some ways, you're going to need those chakras to be very clear, very wide, and very open in order to have everything spiritual come through you to communicate out, right? The other part of this for you, still Airlam speaking, is that you have a very bright future in front of you. There is a certain amount of worry in your energy about making sure that things go the correct way, or making sure that nothing's coming at you that you're not expecting. But that's not going to happen for you. You have a very kind of bright future ahead of you. As far as just doing the things that you want to do, you have not put any major speed bumps in the next part of your life. Much of the difficulty for you has already come through. And so that is really important to understand. Really important to understand.
I just wanted to say real quick, she's my podcast partner too. We do, well, not full time, you know, but like we've been doing shows on and off together for 2 years, you know, so we've known each other for some time.
All right. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But it's interesting that he said, and again, it's funny because he'll, you know, when it's out in public, but and I'm hoping she's listening, obviously, but when he was talking about that, Nicole, I could feel, and I was sort of seeing this delineation for you, that sort of, you know, where he's saying you don't have to take anything from your childhood or the first sort of part of your, you know, the teens, that first early 20s, whatever that is. You don't have to bring some of the old hurts with you anymore. You really can release a lot of that, which it felt like that you have, but it also feels like sometimes it comes up for you as a little bit of a nervous kind of, okay, I need to, you know, I got to be a little bit careful with this or with that, but you're actually kind of, you know, you're going to be a little bit free willy. Like you're going to be able to just keep moving along and doing good things. So that's a cool thing, because sometimes it's not like that, but that's the way you put it in your timeline. And I could feel that for you, and it was good.
And in both cases, like with Michelle and Nicole, like with the Ascension, like, do you see them both like kind of prospering, you know, like with both cases, like with the new energies that are coming in?
Absolutely. And see, this is the other part. This is the other thing with both of them. And this is one of the really important parts about this. And I'm going to say this to Michelle and Nicole, but for Michelle, that's the reason why Airlam says, you know, you've got to make the right decision for yourself. What you know is the right thing to do, which you've been trying not to. You've been trying to make things good. You've been trying to, it'll get better or it'll change, or you really need to just listen to that discernment and know what you need to do, right? So you need to move forward, because you want to keep moving into this ascension in a good way. And for Nicole, she doesn't have something like that going on, but she's going to want to release anything that comes up for her in the way of fear, self-confidence, or control, right? If you have any of that control stuff going on, because you want to be able to be healed from that stuff as the ascension continues. Because yes, they're both going to do well. You're going to do well. I mean, and you've been working through the same thing, right? You've been sort of releasing a lot of things and looking at a lot of stuff, and how do I feel about myself, and how do I, you know, you've done that work as well. So
yeah, that's a really good point.
I mean, I still do it on a day-to-day basis. You know, it's really about that, looking at what you know. And the other thing is a lot of times for all of us, and this is Nicole, this is anybody listening, it's you, Rob, it's me, it's Michelle, and that is that the things that you need to do and take care of will literally be standing there staring you in the face. But it's just, you think, this just feels a bit insurmountable, and I'm not doing that today or whatever. But eventually you just want to push through it, all of it, whatever it is, because you're moving forward into the ascension, and it's good. It's good. So Nicole, I hope that was helpful without being too,
This is amazing. These are amazing readings from you and Aralamb. I love when Aralamb comes on, and this next one is from Anchor Haven, and Anchor Haven's also a podcaster too. So you had 3 podcasters in a row. Michelle,
isn't that so funny?
Anchor Haven, she does mystical wellness. She does oracle readings, and she does like she's like a healer. You know what I mean? She does like witchcraft, but like white witchcraft, you know what I mean? The good stuff. And she's very mystical,
And what is her name?
Julia Anchor Haven.
Julia. Okay, Julia. Hello, Julia. Airlam speaking. Julia, I am so glad that you are coming on here, and here's why. You are a soul who spent, and you know this about yourself, I believe, you have spent 1,400 lifetimes, most of them as an Arcturian. Now, the Arcturians have an incredibly high level of technological information, medical information, spacefaring information, societal information, spiritual information. Arcturians are incredibly well versed in being able to sense and see future timelines, look back into past timelines, sort of move laterally across the timelines. You have all of these abilities. The issue for you is that sometimes you have so many of these abilities, still Airlam speaking, that you don't know what to call yourself, if you will. You don't know sort of what case would you be called? What is your spiritual specialty? So let me say this to you. You do have a spiritual healing specialty kind of modality, but yours is very linked to prophecy. And when I say prophecy, Aralamb still speaking, I'm not talking necessarily about the biblical kind of prophecy, although that can be part of your gift, but it's the prophetic eye, it's the prophetic clairvoyance, it's the prophetic clairaudience that lets you sit with people or look at situations or look at governments or look at medical issues or look at plant medicine. You can look at all of those things, and with that prophetic kind of vision, see into the most likely futures of them, or see into the most likely future of a person and their healing and what they need. And as you understand, future timelines move a bit, but you have the ability with that prophetic piece to really see the most likely future outcome in any situation. You also have this intense ability to remember those Arcturian lifetimes. So much of what you remember, and you have had a few Pleiadian lifetimes, but you're very heavily Arcturian. So you have an incredibly high IQ. You have an incredibly high discernment. You understand often. You can see a situation in the world or a situation with people, and it's as though you're seeing all of the past of the situation, all of the most likely future of the situation, everything that's happening. You have this ability spiritually to see all of the chess moves, if you will. And it makes you incredibly powerful in that way. Let me say this final thing to you. You are exactly where you need to be. You are going to continue to sort of become more powerful in your genre. But the other thing is this, you have got to, and I want to be respectful, you have got to, and I say this, got to, you have free will, but I would say still Airlam speaking, you have got to be very cognizant of your energy level, of the food that you eat, of any toxins. And I know that you look at this, your boundaries, your rest, you need to be very careful with your own spiritual etheric body. There's nothing wrong with you. I'm not seeing illness, but I'm saying you are a soul who sort of feels powerful in that way, that you're just going to do it all and sort of do it all continuously. But you've got to take those times when you take the 5 or 6 or 7 days off completely. You disconnect, right? You disconnect. You sit in your garden, you read your book, you with your animals, you do whatever you're going to do that has nothing to do with your connection to that prophetic spiritual healing modality that you're so incredibly powerful in. So it's wonderful that you're here. Still Airlam speaking. You are a soul that is here with a lot of knowledge, a lot of memory to share. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Me speaking. That's awesome. I was thrilled to hear that as he was talking and that was coming out of my mouth. I was like, wow, this is awesome. This is awesome. She's kind of amazing, this one.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. She's got a lot of.
And I wonder about. I love that prophetic piece of it, because sometimes you'll have a gift and then there'll be this other like big part of your specialty that comes in a really specific kind of way, you know?
Yeah. I just got a question, Melissa. Like, how long do you want to go for? Because I don't want to take up too much. You know what I mean?
I know we've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. I'll take a couple more questions if you like.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Or not, it's up to you.
Yeah. No, that's perfectly fine. I just don't want to. I don't want to over.
I'm good for another, few minutes. I'm good for another few minutes.
Okay. Okay. So this one's from Boopster. This is a really interesting question. She says, question, what does she or Airlam? She said, sorry if I spelled that wrong. Think about the digital ID they're trying to roll out soon.
Okay, Airlam speaking. The digital ID is connected. It's going to be connected with the AI that's happening on the planet. The digital ID, as long as it is something that is very similar to your vehicular driver's license or your social security card, as long as it is something that is off your body, is not worn on your body or on your body or in your body, because here's the difficulty. Earth is going to be coming to this place where there's going to be this opportunity to be wearing something in or on your body that would connect you directly to the sort of world net AI. This is going to be the place where humans are going to have to make a stand a bit about that. So digital ID, the other issue with the digital ID is that obviously this, it's a control mechanism. I believe that in your particular country, it is going to be much, much slower to begin to be rolled out because there are many more souls in this country that you and Melissa live in that will just not do that. I believe that the European Union and Europe is for sure going through with this. And I believe that Canada will go through with this quickly. And it's going to be very problematic because of the idea that your financial system is going to be changing and it takes control away from you, out of your hands. But I would say that most human beings on the planet are going to end up dealing with some level of this in the next probably 5 Earth years, where humanity is going to be coming into sort of the energetic bottleneck of the Ascension, is where the powers that be on the planet are going to want to have some kind of digital ID or AI connectivity that's on or in your body. But at the same time, the Ascension will just about be coming to its fruition, so that there will be other sort of off-world species and new sort of realities that are going to allow for humanity to not have to go fully into that sort of genre of usage. So it's a kind of a two-pronged thing, but I think it's going to be 2 to 3, maybe 5 Earth years before you and your country will have to be dealing with it. But I would say, and you have free will, but I would say at all costs, try to, through the Ascension, try to keep any kind of ID off your body or outside of your body. Something you can carry, not something that's on you or in you, because souled beings do not require that.
I agree. That's really well said. And thank you, Airlam, for that. This is a tough one. I don't know what. Okay, this is from Beth O'Leary. She says, "Are the Epstein files going to be released?"
Beth is a client. Beth is a client of mine. She's a client of mine. That's one of mine. Yay, Beth. Okay, Aralamb speaking. Airlam, and this will probably be our last question-ish.
Okay.
Is that going to be all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Airlam speaking. Airlam speaking. Beth, wonderful to talk to you again. As Melissa said, we are familiar with Beth. So there are two timelines around this particular. I use the word soul loosely. This soul's activities. There are 2 timelines here. The issue is that to release all of that information at this point, and this is why it has not been released, everyone that is a leader that is a social leader, a government leader, a business leader. And when I say leader, I mean at the very top. Every one of those people are compromised in one way or another by that information. There is also this behind the scenes movement to begin to have those leaders pull themselves out of power on their own, still Airlam speaking, of their own volition, in order to begin to release that information. But it is being very heavily guarded at this point because there's this social fabric, that there's a fear that the social fabric would collapse. I agree that it needs to be released, still Airlam speaking. And there are off-world species right now that are pressing to have everything that has been withheld from humanity, including those files, to be released in the next 2 Earth years. There is a press to have that happen. The powers that be on planet Earth are sort of trying to broker themselves in and out of responsibility around this. And so will they be released? I believe so. It may be in sections over time, very much like some of the other large conspiracy theories have been openly talked about now that weren't conspiracy at all. They were real. Certain things are being released into the public. So I believe they will be, but I also can see in the timeline that there's a huge movement to not have that happen, but it will happen. It will happen. The issue with it is that many of the leaders that people have believed in and have looked at as not being a part of that will find themselves a part of that. And that is going to be very difficult for souls on Earth to come to terms with. So that is my answer to that. This is me speaking now. It's a really weird thing because I keep saying to Airlam, are they going to do this thing or aren't they going to do this thing? And he's like, Airlam has said to me, I've said to Airlam, are there people on that list that I will go, oh no, I didn't want, you know what I mean? Like, will I be disappointed by names on that list? And he has said, yes, I will be disappointed with some of the names on that list. Because you want people to really be who they are. You don't want people to be compromised. But he says that there's just a massive amount of people compromised on those in that information, which is terrible, right?
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
It's like, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. So, okay. Damn. I mean, so if that we'll never see we'll never see it then, is what you're saying, basically.
No. I mean, he just said, the way he explains it is we're gonna see it. It's probably gonna be in sections, meaning somebody will release some big part of it, and there'll be all of these people there's so many people. He tells me there's so many people on that list because I've said to him, are there musicians? Are there politicians? Are there religious leaders? Are there corporate people? Are there, all the different, are there artists? Are there, you name it, whatever. Are there movie stars? All the people. Are there people on that list that I would be disappointed in? And he says, yes, everybody's going to be disappointed. Like every soul who's not on the list is going to be disappointed by somebody. So he basically says it's going to come out in sections, and it's going to be like a real kind of turn society over a bit, which is, I think, he says that's what they're afraid of. But he also says there's off-world species who are trying to get it released. So that's interesting too, right? There are off-world species pressing the world governments to release it. Mr. World doesn't want it to come out. It's terrible. It's terrible. Can you imagine that we live in a time where that Beth asked that great question? We live in a time where everybody on the street knows that guy and his girlfriend, whatever, that's in jail, they compromised everyone over a 25-year period of time. They compromised everybody. So, but we all have to keep just going along like we don't know it, right? That's the crazy thing about it. That's the crazy thing about it.
Yeah.
All right, my darling. What do you think?
This was amazing, Melissa. Thank you so much to Melissa, and thank you, Airlam. I really enjoyed this, and do you want to tell everybody where they can find you? And thank you so much.
Yep, you can find me on YouTube under my name, Melissa Gates Perry, and then I'm at melissagatesperry.com as well. But I have a lot of stuff on YouTube. I am terrible about YouTube, though. I have to get back on YouTube. I don't go on it enough. I really don't, and I should. And Airlam wants me to, but I just don't. I'm always working. I'm always talking to people, and I'm just a tiny bit lazy, so I don't do it. But I need to get back at it. But yeah, so everybody can get me there. And thank you, Rob, for having us on. I always love coming on this show because the questions are amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Melissa. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight.
Yes,
And
yes,
I think
yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Awesome,
Yeah.
honey. We'll talk again.
All right. All right. Thank you, Melissa.
All
And
right.
I'll be back tomorrow night, guys. I have more shows tomorrow. And
Nice.
I'll see you tomorrow. And thank you, everyone.